"We turned your room into storage." My mom told my 7-year-old daughter, "You can sleep on the floor." My sister added, "Don't you dare go in there." Her own kids had luxury bedrooms to themselves. I didn't cry. I did this. 12 hours later, the police were at the door. We'd only been away for 3 days. A short family trip, me and my daughter Maya trying to squeeze some air between work, school, and the usual chaos. By the time we pulled into my parents' driveway, the car was a graveyard of snack wrappers and half-finished juice boxes. Maya, 7, talkative and unstoppable, kept a running list of everything she missed. Her cat-shaped nightlight, her favorite blanket, her own pillow that smells like home normal kid stuff. Ordinary excitement. I remember thinking how nice it would be to walk in, drop our bags, and let her run straight to her room. Just normal. Just easy. The house looked exactly the same. Porch light glowing, curtains drawn tight. The kind of spotless that means someone's been preparing. I should have known. Mom opened the door before I could knock, smiling like we were guests who'd arrived early for a party. Dad stood behind her, arms folded, smile smaller, the kind that tries to look welcoming but doesn't quite reach the eyes. Behind them, my older sister Kate leaned against the doorframe, mug in hand, and her husband Greg hovered just behind her. It was a full reception line, which was strange. Usually when we came back, Mom yelled from the kitchen and Dad asked if I'd remembered to gas up the car. That was our version of affection. "Welcome home," Mom said, too bright. "You must be tired." "Completely," I said. "We'll just drop our stuff and get Maya to bed." Maya squeezed past me, dragging her tiny suitcase, all energy and expectation. The second she disappeared down the hallway, I saw it. 4 adults sharing one look, the kind people give each other when a secret's about to detonate. Mom cleared her throat. "Sweetheart, before she runs off, there's something we need to tell you." My stomach dipped. "What something?" Dad shifted, coughed. "It's just temporary." Kate stepped forward, trying for cheerful but landing on fake. "Don't make it weird, okay?" "We just had to move some things around while you were gone." I frowned. "Move what?" That's when Mom finally said it, soft as if she were breaking bad news to a child. "We turned her room into storage, honey." Just for a bit. And the air in the hallway changed. Maya stopped halfway down the hall. "What?" Mom gave the same practiced smile she'd used at every dentist appointment and failed surprise party. "It's only temporary, sweetheart. You'll sleep with your mom. We put a nice mattress on the floor, super comfy." "It's just until we get things sorted," Dad added. "Couple of months tops." Kate sipped her coffee. "My boys need the den for school projects. We had to shuffle a few rooms. It's not a big deal." Greg nodded like the logistics guy he wishes he was. "Made the most sense." I looked down the hallway. Maya's door was closed. A new lock glinted on the handle. Beside it, 3 garbage bags and a cardboard box, all labeled Maya in my mother's perfect handwriting. My voice came out too calm. "You packed her room?" Mom waved it off. "Just some things." We didn't want her tripping over boxes. "What boxes?" "Just storage things." "Don't start, Anna." "It's late," Kate laughed under her breath. "You're so dramatic." Maya turned toward me, whispering, "Why can't I go in?" No one answered her. They just waited. For me to nod, to smooth it over, to make this comfortable for everyone but us. I didn't. That night, the super comfy mattress turned out to be a thin pad on the floor. I told Maya she could have the bed. She argued for about 30 seconds before her eyes started to close. She fell asleep pretending not to cry, curled around her bear like the world couldn't touch her there. I lay down on the pad beside her, watching the ceiling fan wobble and wondering how many times my family could break the same rule. Never touch what isn't yours. The house was silent, all polite noises gone. No TV, no dishwasher hum, just that heavy quiet that means someone's proud of what they've done. I waited until her breathing evened out, then sat up. The hallway light clicked on. Maya's door stood at the end like a dare. I tried the handle. Locked. The air smelled like paint and something else. Fresh wood, maybe. New furniture. Not boxes. Not storage. A floorboard creaked behind me. I turned. Mom stood in the dark, arms folded, robe tight. "Anna," she said, voice low. "It's late. You should go to bed." "I just wanted to see what you put in there." "It's done," she said. "Let's not start a scene tonight." Then she turned and walked away, humming under her breath like she'd just tucked me in. I stayed there, staring at the door until my eyes blurred. The lock caught the light again, a small, smug glint. I told myself to let it go. I told myself it wasn't worth it, but the longer I stood there, the heavier the air felt, like the house itself was holding its breath. Eventually, I turned away. I didn't sleep much that night. The floor was harder than I remembered, and my spine reminded me I'm not 20 anymore. Maya was out cold in my bed, clutching her stuffed bear, safe and oblivious. That's what mattered. I stared at the ceiling, waiting for the house to breathe again. It never did. When you grow up in a place like this, silence isn't peace. It's the sound of people deciding what to do with you. I used to think distance fixed things. Move far enough away, get your own address, your own bills, and the ghosts stay behind. Turns out they forward their mail. Growing up, I was just the other one. The surprise. Kate came first, polished, planned, photographed from every angle. Then there was me, the afterthought that stuck. She was the star student, the class president, the one who made our parents look like they knew what they were doing. I was around. If I spoke too much, I was dramatic. If I stayed quiet, I was moody. Mom once said I sucked the energy out of a room, which, to be fair, is a hell of a thing to tell your 10-year-old. By high school, I learned how to survive. Blend in, not often, and never expect applause. Kate got the big wedding, the designer dress, the kind of photos that belong on greeting cards. I eloped. It wasn't rebellion. It was logistics. A courthouse, a borrowed dress, one blurry photo taken by a friend who forgot to turn on the flash. He wasn't a bad man, my husband. Just one of those people who believe seatbelts are optional and that luck is hereditary. When the crash happened, luck finally ran out. He died before the ambulance arrived. Maya was in the back seat. A broken leg, 1,000 bruises, and the kind of nightmares that crawl into a mother's chest and stay there. She healed slowly. Kids do, but the medical bills didn't. They multiplied like rabbits. Insurance covered what it liked and ignored the rest. So I worked. And kept working. Office job by day, phones, spreadsheets, fluorescent lights. Then nights cleaning those same offices for a different paycheck. 5 hours of sleep if I was lucky. If exhaustion were a sport, I'd have medals. Moving back here wasn't a choice. It was arithmetic. Rent versus therapy costs. Guess which one? When I asked, Mom sounded thrilled. "Oh, it'll be so nice to have the house full again," she said. Translation: free labor with her name on the grocery list. I paid them rent. Cheap, sure, but still something. Kate and Greg, on the other hand, live here rent-free. Apparently, helping Mom around the house is its own currency. Kate likes to say, "We're all family, so it evens out." Funny how even always leans her way. After the accident, people called Maya brave. They said she was lucky. They said I was lucky. They said a lot of things, usually from safe distances. What they didn't see were the hospital corridors, the braces, the screaming from pain that a 7-year-old shouldn't know how to make. They didn't see me choosing between groceries and physiotherapy, or crying quietly in my car because crying at home might scare her. So yeah, when Mom says, "She's fine, Anna, kids heal," I want to hand her the receipts. When Dad mutters, "You overthink things," I want to ask if overthinking is what kept him from noticing his daughter drowning in debt under his roof. But I don't. I keep my mouth shut, pay my contribution, and keep Maya's appointments on time. Then Aunt Lillian died, Mom's older sister. 80-something, lived alone in that old brick house with the rose bushes no one dared to touch. Lillian was the kind of woman who mailed birthday cards a week early and remembered everyone's favorite dessert. We weren't close, but she adored Maya, gave her little trinkets, old music boxes, said she reminded her of herself. The funeral was quiet. Mom cried just enough for photos. Kate handled the eulogy, of course. She always gets the microphone. Afterward, over casseroles and polite grief, I asked, "What happens to Lillian's place?" Mom didn't even blink. "Oh, debts," she said. "There wasn't much left." The lawyers sorting it, Dad nodded along like a backup singer. Kate shrugged. "That house needed too much work anyway." Then Mom changed the subject to gas prices. It didn't sit right. Lillian never mentioned debts. She wasn't flashy, but she wasn't broke. I told myself I was imagining it. Denial's a family talent. Perfect. Both excellent points. You're absolutely right. She'd need a light source, and she would recognize the furniture because she'd seen it before during visits to her aunt's house. Below is the final corrected version of Part 3, keeping it tight, high tension, and consistent with your tone. This version is around 1,000 words, fast-paced, and explains the lighting and recognition clearly. I wasn't asleep. The floor hurt, the room hummed, and that lock at the end of the hallway kept burning in my head. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that says we've done something we don't want you to notice. I told myself to stop thinking about it. Didn't work. At some point, the clock in the hall clicked loud enough to sound like permission. I sat up, grabbed my phone from beside the mattress, and turned on the flashlight. White light flooded the room for a second, catching the edge of Maya's brace. She didn't stir. Good. The floor creaked as I slipped out. The hallway was colder than it should have been. Every step felt like a dare. I aimed the light low, so it wouldn't wake anyone. The motion sensor by the stairs blinked red, but didn't turn on. Small miracles. The kitchen smelled like lemon cleaner and leftovers. I opened the fridge just to make noise that could explain my being awake. Then I spotted the shelf near the laundry room. Same wicker basket, same cracked vase, same spot where Dad's spare keys have lived since the 90s. My hand went in before my brain could vote. Tape. Metal. A key. New. Shiny. Clean. Because of course it was. Back up the stairs, my phone light trembling with my pulse. Maya's door glinted at the end of the hallway. I hesitated just long enough to think bad idea, then put the key in. Click. That tiny sound felt louder than thunder. I pushed the door open an inch, raised my phone. The light slid into the room, slow and sharp. Dust motes flickered. The air smelled like polish, not dirt, like someone had cleaned everything carefully and recently. The storage was a showroom. Tall cabinets, a velvet chair, old paintings leaning against the wall. Boxes stacked neatly in rows. Every surface gleamed under the flashlight's beam. I stepped closer, sweeping the light across one of the cabinets. A tag hung from the handle. Lillian W. Estate. My stomach dropped. Another tag. And another. Every item had one. I didn't need to think. I knew this furniture. I'd seen it when I used to visit Aunt Lillian, afternoons of lemonade and stories about family things that matter. The carved vanity where she kept her jewelry box. The walnut armoire that smelled faintly of cedar. Her piano stool, chipped at the corner from when Maya was little and spun it too fast. They'd moved everything here, everything that should have been in Aunt Lillian's house. I felt something sharp twist under my ribs. I backed out, heart hammering, the key still warm in my hand. For a few seconds, I just stood there in the dark, trying to breathe quietly enough to think. Why would they lock this up? Why lie about it? If it really was storage, why not tell me it was Aunt Lillian's? There were explanations, reasonable ones. Maybe the lawyer told them to keep the furniture here until the estate was sorted. Maybe the smell of polish meant they'd cleaned it for appraisal. But why hide it? Why not mention it once? The more I turned it over, the worse it sounded. Mom and Dad loved family transparency until the topic involved money. Something about this didn't add up, and I wanted to know what. If there was a reason, it would be in writing. There's always a paper trail in this house. Folders, receipts, labels, a lifetime of just in case we need it later. And if this had anything to do with Aunt Lillian's will, the paperwork would be in the study. I hesitated at the top of the stairs, thinking to myself, you don't have to do this. Then I pictured the locked door and all those tags. Yeah, I did. The study door groaned softly when I pushed it open. That room has always smelled like printer ink and self-importance. I kept my phone light aimed low and moved to the oak cabinet against the wall. Every drawer labeled in Mom's handwriting: taxes, insurance, property, estate. I pulled the estate one open, folders packed tight. I flipped through the tabs until one caught my eye. Lillian W. Just her name. Nothing else. Of course. I slid it out, set it on the desk, and leaned my phone against a mug to keep the light steady. Inside were letters, stamped pages, neatly clipped documents. The first line that jumped out made my skin prickle. Beneficiary: Maya Harris. Trustee: Margaret Harris. For a heartbeat, I didn't process it. I thought maybe it meant something else. Maybe a college fund Aunt Lillian had set up for Maya years ago. But the next page killed that hope. A full inventory, house, furniture, savings account, everything, listed under my daughter's name. All of it. I just stared, scanning for a mistake that wasn't there. My throat went dry. I flipped through the stack. The will, the trust documents, valuation forms, even a printed email from an estate agent. Offer accepted, pending inspection. They hadn't just kept it secret. They were already selling it. For a long second, I didn't move. The paper shook in my hands. Then instinct took over. I grabbed my phone, snapped a photo of the first page, then another and another, close-ups, edges, signatures. The shutter sound seemed to echo off the walls, too loud, too final. I slid everything back exactly where I found it, closed the folder, and eased the drawer shut. The house was silent. I could hear my own pulse in my ears. I stood there in the half-dark, clutching my phone, the glow of the screen reflecting that line over and over again. Beneficiary: Maya Harris. I didn't know what to call what I was feeling. Shock wasn't big enough. Anger wasn't sharp enough. It was disbelief turning into something heavier. I switched off the light on my phone, stepped back into the hall, and locked the study door behind me. Everything looked exactly as before, like nothing had happened. But it had. I walked past Maya's closed door, past the sleeping house, back to the mattress on the floor. I sat down, phone in my lap, photos staring back at me. Whatever this was, whatever they'd done, it wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. And when the sun came up, I was going to make sure no one could hide it again. I didn't sleep. You can't, after something like that. The night just dragged itself across the ceiling like a slow bruise. By the time the light hit the curtains, I'd already decided what I was going to do. I dropped Maya off at school, pretending everything was fine. She waved through the car window, trusting me completely, because that's what kids do. They believe you can fix anything. I wasn't sure I could fix this, but I could damn well try. The solicitor's office was quieter than I expected. A kind of moneyed quiet, the kind that makes you whisper even when you're furious. He was the same man whose name I'd seen on Aunt Lillian's letters, the one listed in the estate papers I found in my parents' study. He looked up when I said my name. I told him I'd found some documents. I didn't say I found them in a locked room that used to belong to my 7-year-old. He read the first photo on my phone and went still. Then he took his glasses off and cleaned them like that would buy him time. "These are copies of the original trust documents," he said carefully. "So it's real." "It's very real. The assets were placed in trust for your daughter. Your mother is listed as trustee." "Yeah," I said. "She's been trusting herself plenty." He frowned, leaning back. "You didn't know anything about this, did you?" I told him everything in the quickest version possible. That was enough for him to go pale. "I'll need to contact the authorities," he said. "Do you want to file a report yourself, or would you prefer I—" "Do it," I said. "The less time they have to make up another story, the better." He nodded, already dialing. By noon, I was sitting in the police station, hands wrapped around a paper cup of bad coffee, watching an officer scan through my photos. He kept frowning, scrolling, then glancing back at me like he was waiting for me to add, "And then they murdered someone." "So, this was your daughter's inheritance?" "Apparently." "And your parents were selling it?" "Apparently." He scribbled something in his notebook. "You've got clear evidence of concealment of estate property. This'll go to the Financial Crimes Unit." "Great," I said. "Do they do family discounts?" He didn't laugh. Tough crowd. They took a statement, made copies of everything, and promised to send officers that afternoon. When I left the station, my phone was vibrating. Unknown number. It was the solicitor. "They're already en route," he said. "Don't go alone." "Wouldn't dream of it." The patrol car beat me there. 2 officers out front, uniforms crisp, one holding a clipboard. The solicitor was with them, papers in hand, face calm in that paid-by-the-hour way. My parents' cars were still in the driveway. Of course. I walked up as the officers rang the bell. The door opened, and there they all were. Mom, Dad, Kate, Greg, lined up like a bad portrait. Mom's smile was tight. "Anna, what's all this?" The older officer lifted his badge. "We need to ask a few questions about property belonging to the estate of Lillian W." Mom's expression cracked. "You called the police?" The officer blinked. "Ma'am, this isn't—" She pointed straight at me. "She's trying to ruin this family." Dad tried to shush her, but she was already spiraling. Kate stepped forward, mug in hand, because of course she had a mug. "Anna, you're overreacting." "We were helping by hiding legal documents in a locked room," I said. Greg mumbled, "She's making a scene." "Then stop giving me one," I shot back. The officers started photographing the furniture, the boxes, the labels, every tag, every piece. Mom stood there vibrating with rage. Dad muttered something about misunderstandings. When they were done, one officer said, "We'll forward everything to the district attorney's office." "You'll all be contacted." Mom glared at him like she wanted to bite. "You people don't understand. This is a family matter." The younger officer said, "That's what everyone says right before it becomes a criminal one." After they left, the silence cracked open. Mom turned to me, voice shaking. "Did you call the police on your own mother?" I was too tired to soften it. "You hid Aunt Lillian's will and tried to sell what wasn't yours." "I was keeping it safe," she snapped. "I was grieving." "You've been grieving since I was born," I said. Her face twisted. "You've lived under my roof for free. I pay rent, remember? You charge me for the privilege of being ignored." Kate tried to play mediator. "You're twisting everything." "It was temporary. Temporary doesn't need locks." Greg muttered, "This is ridiculous." "Agreed," I said. "You should have stopped before ridiculous turned criminal." Mom's hands were shaking now. "Get out of my house!" I met her eyes. "I wasn't planning to stay." Packing didn't take long. Most of our things were still in bags from the trip. I grabbed Maya's backpack, her bear, a few clothes. Mom stood in the doorway, crying in the way people cry when they want witnesses. Dad hovered behind her, saying nothing. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she said. "Yeah," I said. "I finally stopped letting you." I picked Maya up from school that afternoon. She climbed into the car, smiling, completely unaware of the war zone waiting at home. "Can we go somewhere fun?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "We're taking a little break." We stayed at a friend's apartment that night. Small couch, one blanket, but it felt better than that entire house. When Maya fell asleep, I sat in the dark and checked my phone. A message from the solicitor. "Police case opened. Probate hearing will be scheduled next week. Offer on Lillian's house suspended." I read it twice before it sank in. Progress. The court date came fast. Mom showed up in black again, grieving chic. Her lawyer tried the misunderstanding defense. She was handling things she'd planned to tell me. It was just confusion. The judge didn't look confused. They reviewed the photos, the documents, the emails. When the words, "beneficiary," Maya Harris flashed on the screen, Mom's face lost color. The court removed her as trustee, appointed me instead. The sale was voided. All property transferred into Maya's trust. Mom's lawyer muttered about appealing. The judge didn't even look up. "You can try," he said, "but the record is clear." By the time we left the courthouse, the air felt lighter. The solicitor walked beside me. "The DA will handle the criminal side now. Expect contact soon." "What happens to them?" "Likely probation, community service, restitution, first-time offenders. But this ruling is permanent. They've lost the estate for good." He paused. "You did the right thing." I laughed once, sharp and small. Feels weird, doing the right thing in this family. It's been 6 months. The dust has finally settled, literally and otherwise. Maya's walking better now. The limp is almost gone, just a faint trace on cold mornings. Her doctor says the progress is remarkable, that with another year of therapy, she should recover completely. For once, I don't have to panic when he says the word therapy. We can pay for it now. We live in Aunt Lillian's house. It still smells faintly of rosewood and polish, but it feels like home. Real home. Not the kind you have to tiptoe through. The estate came through at just over $502,700 total. The house valued at $434,200. The antique furniture appraised around $43,500 and $25,000 in cash assets. All of it secured in Maya's trust, managed by me. The criminal case wrapped last month. Mom pled guilty to fiduciary fraud and theft by conversion. Sentence: 2 years probation, 500 hours community service, restitution of $25,000, and permanent disqualification from serving as trustee or executor. Dad, Kate, and Greg were convicted of aiding and abetting. Each got probation and 200 hours of community service. Word travels fast in small towns. Everyone knows. Apparently, people have seen Mom in an orange vest, picking up trash along the highway. Kate's been doing food bank shifts, pretending it's charity work she chose to do. Greg stopped showing up at the golf club after someone taped a copy of the local paper to his locker. Neighbors cross the street now. No one waves. Maya's adjusted fast. She's made new friends from the school nearby and spends every spare minute outside, drawing with chalk on the driveway or helping me plant things we don't know the names of. It's quiet here, in the good way. The doctor says her leg will be as strong as ever. I believe him. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough?